General Shukla, is President Xi Jinping facing some trouble militarily back home, especially trouble to do with his rocket force? And would that be a reason that he'd rather stay home, though he did go to Johannesburg for BRICS, but would he rather not stay out of the country for long?
You know, I understand he's not traveling for the ASEAN summit, for the East Asian summit. I heard a statement from the Ministry for Social Security saying he wouldn't be traveling for APEC in November. So, and you also, I mean, I've been watching G for a while. He looks tired and dispirited. He missed that speech, I think, at the
Business Forum. That's right, sir.
So there is something amiss. Let me just, make two quick points about the economy. Is it a temporary blip? Is it a plateau, or is it a decline? Now, that's the real question. We have this lovely book from Thomas Orlick, which says, China, the bubble that never pops, which means the West has been pronouncing its decline for very long, but that collapse is always arriving, it never comes. Now, that is the big question. Today, I was watching one of the social media channels, somebody drawing a parallel with Japan. Japan's astronomical growth from 1969 to 1990, and then it declines, and I'm told it has never risen to those levels ever again. In many ways, for the reasons that Professor Kondapalli was pointing out, the worries in the real estate, loss of public confidence, loss of business confidence, the fact that labor is no longer cheap, demographics, this could be more than a temporary blip. And if it is more than a temporary blip, these are, big signs of worry for China. But what is, or what could be adding to these cups of woes is some other issues. Look at this whole business of rocket force. I think it has not received the kind of attention it should have in India. You have 10 of his rocket force generals, his own proteges, suddenly getting disloyal, resorting to informational compromise. And this is an informational compromise in the nuclear instrument of a 21st century superpower.
Yes.
It is extremely worrying. There are other issues, revolving around, I'm told he's pushing the PLA to get ready for Taiwan in an early time frame. He's been talking of 1,000% readiness, so on and so forth. And there are people, one of the very well-known generals there, Liu Yazhao, a former political commissar of the NDU, he has been saying that the PLA is not ready and he's being charged for treason. There are others, the vice chairman of the CMC, who's been arguing that Taiwan is a receding strategic opportunity. If you don't do it now, with all the technological caging and the pushback that is happening in the two island chains, you may never be able to do it. So these are the kinds of pressures, and some other signs that we see is, if you go on to social media, now social media is not always accurate, it gives you some pointers.
Okay.
One or two issues. There has been discontent in many pro-CCP dailies or media outlets in Shanghai and Singapore. Inner party factionalism. I'm told that the top leaders met in Bedahe a week back, and Xi was, pretty dispirited, annoyed, expressing his great displeasure at financial companies, the private sector, corruption. So, all kinds of issues in the larger paradigm of Chinese statecraft.
He apparently wants to take over more private sector companies and bring them under state control. And that's also leading to, according to some reports, major trouble in China. But
all kinds of issues, war weariness, as I said.
Yes.
So, all these seem to point to the fact that this time, we have more to worry about, or Xi has more to worry about than what Thomas Orlick suggested in terms of the bubble never popping. It may have popped, or it may be popping.
It may be popping or may have popped already. Professor Kondapalli, very interesting points that General Shukla brings out. But I also want to focus for a moment on the G20 Summit and President Xi not coming here. Does it in any way impact the summit or the outcome, sir?
Not so much, even though China is the second largest economy in the world, there is some denting into this process because of the US-China decoupling or de-risking aspects. there has been a beeline of American officials, Blinken, Yellen, Kissinger,
Yes.
and now recently Raimondo. All of these resulted in no major announcement as far as the US-China economic relations are concerned. So, Biden and Xi are expected to meet in the APEC meeting.
Yes.
So even that factor is not really going to affect the G20 in New Delhi. So I think China's role would be very marginal, even though it is
Imagine, so a world power, the second largest economy, will just have a very marginal role to play. And in the next several days, we will continue to discuss this in greater detail.